My biggest influence on my artistic sensibilities was and still is my mother. She was a professional artist. She worked for Boeing as a technical illustrator, and actually back before there was software and CAD and all that kind of stuff, she hand drew, you know, bolts, door bolts, and machine parts, and basically worked on manuals that showed people how to put airplanes together, which apparently they don't use anymore. But that's what she did for a living. And then in her spare time, she would she'd use acrylics to create large format paintings of, no offense to anyone in the room, wrinkly people with ethnic skin tones, very dramatic lighting, in the classical style. So a lot of realism. I got to grow up in a house with all original artwork, which really spoils a person and makes it hard for you to then move out and live with people who want to put prints on your wall, right? So anyways, I distinctly remember the very beginning of my watercolor journey, because she was painting one of these massive paintings, and I'm sure I was just pestering the heck out of her. I was small and bothering her and wanting her attention. And she rummaged around in her art supplies, and she handed me this dirty pan of watercolors and some old brushes and paper and said, "Get lost." And that was probably like the start of everything. She used National Geographic magazine photos as her reference photos. I used Ranger Rick photos. So a lot of my stuff was animals, and to this day, I still do a lot of animals. I wanted to share with you probably one of my earliest pieces from my early years. My mother has had this on the wall since I think I was in second grade. So this is the beginning of everything, right? Thank you. My Ranger Rick photo of a robin. So I had a penchant for science, and I wasn't really encouraged to go into the arts. So I don't really have any real formal art training. When I went to college, I majored in zoology. I was supposed to go in and go on to medical school, which didn't happen for me. But while I was there, I managed to take a graphic design class, which wasn't much of anything, but got me drawing again. And then I took a scientific illustration course, which I really enjoyed. It really married my love of science and my love of art together. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. Of course, I couldn't do any more with it because I still had to go to medical school, right? I did, however, get to be an organizer for the very first scientific illustration art show at the University of Washington, circa 1986. So that was kind of cool. I feel like I still have a finger in that program, even though I didn't really do anything in the program. So some of my influences now, fast forward 100 years, I've tried a bunch of different things. I've done beaded tapestries, I've done fused glass, recently I started messing around with embroidery painting. But about the time we started coming out of the pandemic, 2021, I decided I wanted to start painting again. And fortunately, because of the pandemic, we have all these online platforms for learning new things, right? So I stumbled upon a site called Domestika, and Domestika offers probably thousands of different types of art classes. And I think the majority of the instructors on there are international artists. So the first class I took was from an artist named Sarah Stokes. She lives in the UK, and if we could ever get her to come to Vegas, I would love to have her do a workshop. She does animal portraits, and the class that I took was expressive portraits of animals in watercolor. And so you'll see I have put some of my pieces up against the window there. There's a portfolio there. The first couple of pages of paintings that you'll see are paintings of dogs. They're my dogs, my friend dogs, my mom's dogs, and they're all kind of like the projects that came out of that class. Next class I took was scientific illustration in watercolor. It was taught by an artist out of somewhere in South America. I want to say Colombia, maybe. His name is Balamak. And of course, that was a really interesting class to take. I got to use all the parts of my brain because Balamak doesn't speak English. So not only was I trying to watch him, and his technique on the video, but I was also listening to him speak his native language, and I was reading the subcaptions, and I was trying to do all this stuff. So it was very interesting. But of course, after you do it for a little bit, it was really, really a worthwhile class. His mantra is is trust the process. And he teaches a really specific process for doing scientific illustration. So that painting over there of the ocelot that you'll see, that's the final project for that class. Most recent class I took was from a gentleman named Marco Mazzoli. He's an Italian, and he's just an adorable little guy. The Italian accent just totally makes the class totally worth taking. But he teaches surrealism in nature, and I love surrealistic artwork. It's not something that I think I'm that great at because I have a hard time letting go of things that are real. But I like it because it shows things that are real, but weird things at the same time, right? So his class taught a little bit about the history of surrealism, and he has published several books focusing on mental health, where he takes like different kinds of animals and botanical aspects, and he puts them together in a way to represent a behavioral health issue or a behavioral health solution or something like that. So took that class. In the portfolio, there's a little painting in there that I did. It's called Honey Mesquite, and that's a final project from that class, and you'll see why when you look at it. That's about it for my influences. My goals with my art are really now, as I'm progressing a little bit, I really want to just be recording some of the animals, organisms that I see around me. So a lot of my inspiration is taken from things that I find like when I'm walking my dogs at night or when I look out in the front yard. So like the painting of the bat over there, I actually never saw a bat in my front yard, but I was walking my dogs and I saw the saguaro cactuses and the crescent moon and Venus, and everything was lined up perfectly. And I thought that would make a great painting. And when I started, it was about Halloween. So I thought I'm going to throw a bat in there too. So that's how the bat ended up in there. So that's really about it. That's what I'm doing with my art. And I really appreciate being part of this group. I'm learning a lot from all of you. And really, I just signed up so I could get the members discount on the workshops. Yes, ma'am. You want the microphone back, don't you? Are you married? I am married. It's my second marriage. I have 2 adult children. My daughter lives up in Reno. She won't come home. She loves it up there. And my son lives a couple miles from my house. So yeah, I have dogs and birds and dogs and pigs. Yeah, I do. I work at the Southern Nevada Health District. I'm an environmental health manager, which is why I'm carrying my phone today, because I'm in charge of the Super Bowl incident response all week. So we're kind of, just kind of working on that. I've got about 52 food inspectors out there. I've got a team of solid waste inspectors. We've got enhanced disease surveillance. So everybody's been working all week, keeping everybody safe here. That's it. Thanks.
Called the Artist Spotlight. And what that is for new members and sometimes older members that have been here forever, like me, to tell you about themselves and their artwork so that we can get to know each other.